is. It is meant for evil. This is not cute, ladies and gentlemen. This is a representation whose roots are in Satanism. This is nothing that God honors or wants in your home. It's a time when we have to ask ourselves, do I want my children out celebrating a holiday when I know for a fact the newspapers, the secular newspapers, will report the highest amount of break-ins into animal shelters? You will find the highest amount of animals that have been dissected, bled, murdered, sacrificed. It is a time when there's a frenzy of murder. This is not a time of celebration and candy. Do you want your children out, walking around partaking, knowing that it is a celebration, a holy day of the God of the dead? Can you absolutely, with a clear mind, hearing these things and knowing its root, say that God doesn't mind? You know, the Bible says in Deuteronomy, regard them not that do sorcery and witchcraft, that are spiritualists. If you look and you find out what regard them not means, it literally means have nothing to do with them. The Lord expressly states, for this reason, I will drive them out of the lands before you because they are an abomination. Those people who regard sorcery, witchcraft, spiritualism, the occult, and the practice of what they hold sacred is an abomination to God. And those that partake are partaking of that which God calls an abomination. What do I tell my kids when I say to them, you won't be going out this year? We won't be celebrating or acknowledging a holy day that witches throughout the world will celebrate, that's rooted in evil and death, that is literally a night for Satan and wicked evil demons to walk the earth. What do you say to your kids? I'm going to tell you what you say to your kids. You tell your kids the truth. You tell your children the truth. You explain these things to them. You say, well, Carol, you know, it's gory and it seems kind of icky. How do I tell my children these things? Ladies and gentlemen, they see enough and hear enough between television and what they learn at school and what they hear through music that I don't think anything you can share in honesty considering this holiday is icky and weird. I think we need to sit our children down and teach them in the way that they should go and tell them, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot redeem Halloween. You cannot go out with a clear conscience partaking in a holiday that is rooted in Satanism. That during that night when your children are parading the streets, dressed up in, you may say, well, I don't dress my children up in anything ghoulish. My little girl goes out as an angel, or my little boy is dressed up as a shepherd. It is a day of celebration that comes from darkness and evil, 4,000 years old. It is a day that celebrates death and murder and violence. And while our children are out partaking, death and murder and violence will be occurring in this country and countries throughout this world. I wanted so badly on that day, because of my practice of witchcraft, to communicate with the dead. I knew that through my study and my involvement that it was a day when there was a very thin cloud that I could pass through. It was during this time, in preparation for the eve of Samhain, I would prepare myself with all kinds of spells and things for that particular night. And it was on that night that I would desire to go deeper into communication with spirits. And through that, I became very deeply possessed by the spirits that I invited in for what I thought was power. This was the great night, the holy day of Samhain, the celebration of death. Ladies and gentlemen, as I sit back today and I see some of the most precious, innocent Christians, as well as people that are not Christians, yielding their children to the celebration of death and blood, death and fire it was called back in the days of the Druids, it breaks my heart to think what an that Satan gets into the homes. When we know, Jesus said, when you did